No better way to...
Good morning. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Board of Selectmen meeting of June 17, 2013. It is now 8:30 a.m. We have a pretty long agenda, so I'll get started. But before that, I was away for about a week, and I wanted to thank Selectman Havner for filling in for me. He did a great job, and the town was in good hands. And I also want to thank our fire department, public works, health department, and again Selectman Havner for their quick actions on Friday when we had a incident up at the Quantapug parking lot. We haven't heard about it. We had an eruption of an oil tank nobody knew was there. It had been there for maybe about 60 years or so when the town bought the property. I guess they just capped it off, and back then there was no remediation. Because of all the bad weather we had, the tank started leaking oil, brought from the quick responses of the departments I mentioned, and Selectman Havner to keep me informed while I was away down in Florida. Everything was handled expeditiously, and a catastrophe was avoided. Deep was down here. They thought that we handled it a great job, did a great job. So again, I want to thank everybody for the quick response. We're still in the mopping up phase right now up at Lake Quantapug parking lot. So again, thank you all. And I also want to thank my Selectmen's office staff, Karen and Tracy, just a great job for informing the public and putting it on the website that the beach would be closed on Saturday, and also Park and Rec for their attention to the matter. So with that being said,
that was quite a a potentially disastrous situation avoided in the departments, health department, fire department, Park and Rec. I mean, everybody did respond. It took me, an hour Friday afternoon to get up there, just to get up there. But they had already had, phone communications and had it all under control and booms set up, because it was flowing down the parking lot across 77 right towards the lake, and their efforts averted a major problem.
So
I really appreciate it.
thank you again, Charles. The system works when first selectman's away. Systems are in place, and it helps. And I want to thank all the departments for keeping me informed all during that afternoon, that evening. Actually, when we came, I got back here Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, I should say. The health department had determined that the beach could be open the next day, that because of their quick actions. So, very good. Thank you all. So the citizens can be at ease that we have some great, like I always say, we have some great people working for this town. Okay. That being said, first order of visit, we have a proclamation to present. And I'd like to call Ron Virgin up here and Larry Santamaria. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? Larry, how are you?
Yeah, fine.
Ron, we'd like to say something about the Purple Heart Association that you are the head of, and then I will read the proclamation, okay?
Okay, great. Well, the Military Order of the Purple Heart was established actually in Connecticut, and it's the only combat wounded organization where everybody's combat wounded veterans. Larry is a member of our organization, as well as, of course, the VFW. We have 7 members from Connecticut, from Guilford alone, in our organization. We have about 780 in the state, about 45,000 nationally. It's a very influential group and a good group of people that has one goal in mind, and that is to take care of other veterans. I'm extremely proud to be a member of that organization, and I appreciate what you're doing here for us.
Great. Larry, would you like to say something?
No, I'd just like to thank you for doing this and for recognizing those veterans. And I think Ron pretty much said it all, and that's very important that we keep all these wounded warriors, as we call them, especially now, them coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. They certainly need our support, and this is just one way to show them our support for them. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, and with that, I'll read the proclamation. It said, whereas the people of the town of Guilford have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selfishly served their country and this community in the armed forces, and whereas veterans had paid the high price of freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the contribution and sacrifices of the men and women from the town of Guilford who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas many men and women in uniform have given their lives while serving in the armed forces. And whereas many citizens of the community have earned the Purple Heart as a result of being wounded while engaged in combat with an enemy force, constructed as a singular, notorious act of essential service. And whereas September 20th, 2013 has officially been designated as the day in the town of Guilford to remember and recognize veterans who are recipients of the Purple Heart Medal. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen of the town of Guilford do hereby proclaim the town of Guilford as a Purple Heart town, honoring the service and sacrifices of our nation's men and women in uniform, wounded or killed by enemy while serving to protect the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans. And in witness whereof, we have here to set our hands and cause the seal of the town of Guilford to be affixed this 3rd day of June 2013, and it's signed by the entire Board of Selectmen. Gentlemen, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service. Okay. Item 1 on the agenda, the public hearing to obtain comment on an application be submitted for the Neighborhood Assistance Act. And we also have another item, an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 174, flood damage prevention. And a third item, an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 160, demolition of buildings. We will start first with testimony or presentations in regard to the Neighborhood Assistance Act program. Who would like to come and address the board? Please. State your name and organization, please.
Is it okay if I sit?
Oh, we want you to.
My name is Nancy Cunningham. I'm the co-chair of the Calvin League Playground Project, and we received the application from Tracy for the Neighborhood Assistance Act. We are requesting funding of $80,000 for the potential tax credits for donors who wish to donate to our project. We've raised $70,000 to date, and we've spent $69,000. And the majority of the donations came from the brick engraving and installation for the walkway to the playground, and that goes in on Wednesday morning. And we still have phase 3 to complete, and that's the K through 2 part of the playground, and that's going to commence this summer with a new phase of fundraising ideas, and it would be helpful to the project for people to receive tax credit once they donate.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? Anyone? This is a public hearing. Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Yes, John?
I first want to apologize. I guess I've been ignorant of just what this act is. And I'm not sure what the scope of the Neighborhood Assistance Program is, but I've had some neighbors ask me, does this have to do with flood control, since they were both on the same thing? Are these disaster relief types of assistance? And I said, I don't think so.
No.
But I guess, as you know my history here on working on those types of issues, I would hope that if and when we have a community program for assistance for relief of communities for things like flooding or seawall restoration, things like that, that we have some sort of a prioritization process by which we make those decisions, because there's going to be a lot of people in line, and it would be helpful to have that open forum to make more people aware and set priorities. So that's all I wanted to.
Thank you. Just for clarification, the Neighborhood Assistance Act is basically, like Mrs. Cunningham said, allows organizations who donate to these various nonprofits to receive tax credits. And they need the approval of our town Board of Selectmen to get on the list. Okay? Anybody else? Yes.
Morning. My name is Chris Widmer, and I'm here representing the Guilford Housing Authority for a Neighborhood Assistance Act tax credit allocation. These funds are requested to provide the housing that we are currently constructing with solar thermal systems for each of the residents that move into the new units. Currently, there are no incentives for these systems. The state is, and the energy fund has dried up, and there is no incentive program for solar thermal, and we're hoping to offset the cost of these a little bit by providing some funding through this program. The systems will provide hot water, which is currently the largest draw on these units for each of the residents that live there. We're asking for $55,800, which was the quoted price we got from a contractor for these units. And it's part of a larger program that Charles had attended the groundbreaking for these new units, which are slated to be zero energy. So we're trying to sort of keep that going and using this program for that. So it's
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the Housing Authority? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Denise? It's like a minefield back
It
there.
is,
with
yeah.
wires.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Denise Rose, Executive Director of the Sarah Foundation, and we come every year and talk to you folks about supporting us for the CNAP program. We have two programs that we're requesting funds for. One is our endowment growth program to build our endowment so we can provide ongoing support and distributions to our agencies. The second program is for recreation. Recreation is a very important part of our programs at Sarah, and it's completely not funded by the state, so we need to raise funds every year to support those programs.
Any questions of Sarah? Thank you very much, Denise. Is there any other organization that'd like to address this item on the public hearing? Yeah. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to the second item, which is an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford for flood damage prevention. James? Town engineer Jim Portley.
Okay. Guilford has had a flood ordinance since, the original maps came out in 1986, but we've had an ordinance since 1990 that was titled Flood Damage Prevention. It lays out the rules and regulations of what must be done in terms of constructing or improving buildings within designated flood zones in the town. The flood zones are determined by FEMA as part of their oversight of the flood insurance program. This year, or starting in December of last year, new maps were generated for lands abutting Long Island Sound coastal areas. They include not only just the areas right along the shore, but also upland waters like ran along the west and east rivers that are affected by flooding in Long Island Sound. And those changes have been made to the flood maps to reflect a model that was done on Long Island Sound, and there have been some changes in the flood elevations to reflect what had been generated by this model. The maps will become effective July 2013, July 8th specifically. So what is being proposed here are revisions to the ordinance that reflect the new maps that will become in effect, as well as some proposed changes to the language, changing some of the definitions of what must be done. I don't see it as significant. It's just an ongoing kind of oversight of what towns must do and communities must do to protect people from having damage to their properties and keep us in the flood insurance program. We must make these changes now to maintain the flood insurance program in Guilford. So as proposed to you today, I recommend that the Board of Selectmen make these changes.
Pam, is there anything you want to add to that? No? Okay. Okay. Are there any questions?
Jim, if you review the map, are you in general agreement with what FEMA's done in their mapping?
Yes.
I know that's a loaded question,
Yeah,
but
we could go on for days, but yes, I am.
I mean, were they, in their process, were they subject to some sort of a public process, or is it just?
Oh, no, they were. Matter
At a
of fact, these maps have been available for over a year for review. They've taken the public comment. I think they've done a thorough job.
So if the state or any municipality had specific issues, there was an opportunity for them to address it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any comment on the proposed ordinance from anyone? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you, James. The last item on the public hearing is an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 160, demolition of building. Harry, you want to speak? Good morning.
Good morning. These are very minor changes to an
Just for the
ordinance
record,
which is...
we need to hold
Sorry.
down here.
Very minor proposed changes to an ordinance which has been on the books now for, I believe, close to 8 years. The first proposed change would simply bring our ordinance, the wording of the ordinance, in conformity with the state enabling legislation by naming the listing of historic properties in town which are covered by the ordinance. The State of Connecticut Historic Resources Inventory for the town of Guilford, which is in fact what it should have been called originally. We've been calling it the Guilford Preservation Alliance Survey. So just to make it clear, this is the same document, simply a different name, calling it by its official name to bring us into conformity with the state requirements. The second change is a very minor one, which would request that an applicant for a demolition permit give a brief description of the scope of the proposed demolition, simply to give the town and any other interested parties a little more information to work with. And the third proposed change is to simply eliminate a provision for the Guilford Preservation Alliance to be on site while a demolition is in progress. This is something that nobody has ever done and that nobody in our organization was even aware was in the ordinance. So we feel it's appropriate to simply take the GPA out of this process and leave it in the hands of the town enforcement officer, as it in fact has been all along.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, thank you, Director. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 2 of our agenda, which is the approval of 2 sets of minutes. 2.1, regular meeting of June 13th, 2013. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any additions or corrections? Any? No? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2.2, approval of the special meeting minutes of June 6, 2013. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any additions or corrections? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I abstain, Tracy.
It's 4 affirmative, 1 abstention. All right, thank you. Item 3 is the finance report. Our finance director is on her way back from vacation and will not be here with us. So I'm going to try to fill it. God help us. Actually, I should. All right. We'll start off with the revenue. And if you look at your revenue summary in the back of material, we're in pretty decent shape. We're at 98.98% collected, and we're 91.63% through the year. We're slightly ahead of last year's collection trend through May of 2013. The items that are really doing well, and I see the building inspector right here, is the building department has really gotten a lot of activities lately. The fire department is in line with their budget. They caught up quite a bit from where they were a year ago. Social services, I should say, youth and family services is going to be fine. We spoke to them. As far as tax collection goes, we are having a little bit behind last year. However, what's today? Today's the 17th, so Wednesday of this week, we will be having a tax sale on delinquent properties, and that should bring us close to about another $175,000 collection on top of our normal collection. Okay. I'll try to answer any questions on revenue. No? Okay. By the way, I had before I left and before the finance director left, we've had some conversations about where we're going to be on revenue before we leave it. Considering the state revenue we anticipate, which seems to be okay, we will probably be just on budget for revenue, which is really good.
Yeah,
Which is really good. You can say surprised.
Well, considering the winter we had,
Right.
storms, I was concerned,
Right.
so.
No, that's just the revenue part, not the
Yeah,
expense.
but-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as expenditures go, we're again 91.63% through the year. We're a little bit ahead in spending than we were a year ago, but keeping in mind that we had 2 storms in this fiscal year, which were FEMA events. We're getting used to that here, but at some point, we need a break.
Joe, on the insurance, it looks like we're almost, is that just timing in terms of what we pay, or?
Yeah.
Are we gonna, okay.
We should be fine on insurance. There should be no problem there. As far as you factor in the FEMA expenses, we'll still be okay. The finance director has informed me, back to your question and comment, that we will be in I don't want to be too optimistic, but certainly we will not be in a deficit position, assuming we get the FEMA reimbursement, but we should be okay. Okay.
And then legal, though, we're over, right?
Legal,
So-
we're going to be over, and I told the Board of Finance that several months ago, and it's good that you bring it up. Legal is mainly because of contract negotiations. We're still dealing with 3 unions at this point. We settled with one earlier, which was the Teamsters, which they're tough negotiations. I mean, this board has taken a position, and the unions have taken positions, and it's going to cost us some legal money, but in the end, it's going to be a fair contract to the taxpayers and to our staff. So, okay, and we're definitely going to be going into the new fiscal year without any of these contracts being settled. I could safely say that, since we've got 2.5 weeks to go to the end of the year, Mitch.
Yeah.
All right, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, we've budget is provided for that. So. Okay. Anything else on expenses? Okay. I guess the item which was a little bit disappointing to me, but a little better than last month, was our medical fund. We've had $1,047,000 in medical claims in May, and now that would brings our projected deficit to $365,000 for this year. We combine that with our fund balance in the medical reserve account of $496,000. We're still looking at a positive fund balance of $130,000 728 as of the end of May. And again, that's just projected. Mitch, do you want to comment anything on the medical over here?
Morning.
Yeah, Joe just reported the medical expenses for the past month and how they impact the medical fund balance. And on the catastrophic claims, we have now 4 individuals who have exceeded the stop loss of $225,000, and we have 6 others who have exceeded the 50% range of it, which is where we start tracking that. Of course, there's only 1 more month left in the fiscal year, so this will come to an end and start all over in July. But we have had some large claims this year, and I think that probably attributes to why we've got some higher than usual claims for this past last couple months have been pretty heavy. That's really all I have, unless you have any other questions.
Any questions? Okay. Anything else on our financial reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you for being so kind to me. Item 4, Board of Education Director of Operations, Cliff Gurnham. I see him out there. Here he is, Cliff. Good morning. 4.1, discuss and take possible action to waive the bidding for repairs of the roof guards at the Cox Elementary School.
Morning, Cliff.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me. The Cox Elementary School had a new roof put on in 2009. With that, they installed a bunch of new roof guards. Later that year, the winter of 2010, we got hit with that numerous massive snowstorms. The quantity of snow actually damaged a large number of those snow guards. And the snow guards, if you don't know what they are to prevent the snow from coming off the roof at any type of speed or large pieces, especially over entranceways or areas where there might be kids or students. So that storm caused a great deal of damage. We bent about 178 snow guards. We completely damaged 185, and then about 10 more were ripped off or are gone completely. So there's a large number that are missing. We looked at, the reason why it's taken so long to get back here is we looked at the number of snow guards that we had, and we went back to the manufacturer, we went back to the architect, the roofing company, to determine whether or not there was something we should do to prevent this from happening again. Was it we didn't have enough? Did we have too many? All those scenarios. And it basically comes down to there was too much snow at one time that didn't get cleared off soon enough. Between that and overloading, when we had the upper roof landing on the lower roof, again, just amounted to too much snow for those roof guards to handle. So the recommendation of the architect and the design firm was not to change that design, because then you start to overload the roof. You do want some of the snow to come off, just not in large chunks. So what we're asking to do is replace all those missing, broken, and damaged ones. The damaged ones, which are just bent, we'll try to bend back so they'll function normally. We discussed potentially going out to bid. However, because the roof is under warranty, we felt it in the best interest, not to void that warranty, to have the same manufacturer or installer come back and fix the roof guards. So we're asking that you award the repairs for the roof guards in the amount of $24,000 to Silktown Roofing from Derby, Connecticut.
Okay, you're actually also asking us to waive the bidding and award.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Because if we go out to bid, then again, we're opening it up to somebody other than the manufacturer and installer that did the work originally.
Yes, okay, yes.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
I have 2 questions. First, if their snow guards are bent and we straighten them out, aren't we weakening them?
We don't feel excessively. They're not bent in half. They're just lifted, so they don't have a sharp bend. If they had a sharp bend in them, and we went to bend them back, we'd have a concern. But we'll call it a soft bend, so they're kind of curled up. So we don't feel it's going to cause any issues with those getting bent back.
And then did we file an insurance claim?
We haven't.
Can we?
I will discuss that with the town further. Absolutely.
Cliff, obviously, you know I'm not an engineer, but is this like a design failure? Because didn't we specifically have these guards to prevent this sort of thing?
It's to prevent large chunks of snow coming off the roof. They're not.
I mean, were they underrated for the amount of snow we've been getting, or?
No. The main area that got hit the hardest was it's just a double capacity with two roofs landing on each other. So again, we went back to the architect and the engineers, and they just feel that we need to, if we have excessive amount of snow like that, actually take and pull it off, just like you would on a flat roof.
So there isn't a different application we would
No, the problem
use
is
rather than do this over again?
Again, there wasn't a recommendation from the architect to change the style, because we did discuss that as well. So at this point, no, not that we're aware of that would prevent that from happening. So
Standing building reviewed
has-
all this and
correct.
did, what were their,
they made their recommendation to move forward with the repairs with Soaktown.
Do we have this sort of system on any other school buildings?
I have to double check. I think Adams might have it on their synthetic slate. It's a synthetic slate roof. It's not a normal roof, and that's why we ended up putting the snow guards on there, because with the synthetic slate, it creates an issue with the snow coming off faster than an asphalt tile, because they're smoother. So that's why they were installed on this application.
And we didn't have a problem at Adams then? with that?
No.
Okay. So- Okay. Any further questions? Somebody like to make a motion?
I would move that we waive bidding and award a $24,000 contract to Silktown Roofing for the repair of the roof guards on Cox School.
In the amount of $24,000?
In the amount of $24,000.
Is there a
Is there any
second?
way I'll second it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any way to add to that Veronica's suggestion about the insurance? I mean, this is a substantial amount of money for something that, you know,
Oh,
we
that's
don't seem to be
promotion.
fixing anything.
Correct. We haven't had any further issues in the recent storms, but again, we didn't lose any more than we did before, but we'll check on the claim. I'll talk to Sheila and whatnot.
I thought you were going to make a motion that we don't have heavy snows.
Big mother.
I don't think you have any opposition to that motion.
Is that within the selectmen's
Yeah, no way.
realm of responsibility?
You would think.
I'll vote for that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.
no, I'm
Oh,
voting
sorry.
no.
4 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
4.2, consider and take possible action to approve renovation to classroom B5 at the Adams Middle School through the COG bid.
So what we're looking at doing is, this classroom is in the lower level of Adams. It's a science classroom. They do a lot with a program that deals with having to do a lot of water sinks, cleanup from this, that, from different science experiments. We've had several issues with this classroom due to mold, and we did actually an extensive mold remediation in the fall of last year. So what we're looking at doing is going in and changing the configuration to allow better supervision of the students, additional sinks in the proper location, and new cabinetry located in a different area as well. We're separating the water from the cabinetry. So we're renovating a good amount of the building along with the prep room, which seems to be the primary location of where the mold is stemming from. And we're removing the water out of that area into a central place in the classroom itself. So we're looking at doing this through the CROG bid. and that was awarded to Pat Munger. As we know, we've used them before. They've done numerous projects for us. So the renovation project is in the bid amount of $45,703.83. We have sufficient bond funding from a bond in fiscal year 2011 to cover this smaller project. And we're looking at trying to get this done over the summer so that when we come back, the classroom will be prepared and ready for next year.
Cliff, is the science lab at Adams still located in the basement?
This one is, yes.
Is it still, is this related to the drainage problems that we've had in the past with
Not
this building?
the recent, we don't feel that the recent issues were created due to the drainage problem. It's more of, again, the configuration of the room. The majority of the drainage problem, all the drainage problems have been pretty much corrected. We've had the recent really heavy rains last week, and we've had no water anywhere in the basement.
That's good news.
So,
How much of the air of the basement will be fixed? Because I know there is a mold issue down there. Like, how much of this will be fixed and how much is remaining, or will take care of the whole problem?
we've tested throughout this year a couple times to ensure we didn't have an issue with mold. This spring we did encounter a very small trace of mold, and we went through and we remediated again. And it was only in this one classroom. That's why we're doing this classroom. All the other classrooms came back negative. So, and we just tested again last week. Again, we're trying to ensure that we don't have a problem down there, and it appears we fixed all the problems except in this one room. So we're going to try this reconfiguration and renovation to alleviate that problem. Great.
I'll make a motion that we approve renovations to classroom B5 at the Adams Middle School for base bid awarded to Pat Munger Construction, the amount of $45,703.83.
I would just like to clarify to your motion that it is a PROG, on the PROG bid.
I'll have to say that.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
oh, yeah.
PROG bid. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody? Then I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you. Item 5, Park and Recreation Director, Rick Maiden. 5.1, discuss and take possible action to award bid 9-1314 firework display. Oh, something fun now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, when I heard about the oil bubbling up out of the ground there at Lake Quantified, we were hoping it'd be like, you know, we got an oil well. It'd be a good financial benefit for the
That
town.
makes two of us.
It didn't work out that way.
Maybe we can get rid of the tax collector, and then we don't need that anymore.
A minute there, it looked like it.
But I have to say, I think the word got out because I was out of state, and I had talked to aquatic staff to ask them check it periodically on Saturday, and they said there weren't people up there. So I guess word got out that the beach was closed, so we didn't have, and it was a nice day Saturday, so we didn't have tons of people up there.
That was just a lucky break that they had boomed it so early on Friday. I mean, that could have been a real disaster.
Yeah, but thank you.
Let's talk about fireworks.
Fireworks. Fireworks are held on July 13th this year, and as you know, it's always been a great event. And we had the bid opening on Friday, and 3 bidders. The low bidder was Atlas from Jaffrey, New Hampshire. That's for $8,500. That's a company we've been working with since day one, so you know we're happy with their performance, and so we're kind of glad that they were the low bid. The fundraising committee of Adrian Price, Ray Luden, and Ed Bartlett are still raising funds. We're meeting this week, in fact, to kind of talk about, discuss that and where we are, strategy and so on. People and organizations can still donate. We're still needing funds. I think we're about, last count, about $4,000 short of where we need to be. So we're still accepting donations, and people can make checks payable to Guilford Parks and Recreation Department. We put into a special account for the fireworks. But we'd like to request the Board of Selectmen award the bid to Atlas for $8,500.
Rick, is this the same company we've used in the past?
Same one.
Okay.
Yeah, every year. Yeah.
I'll move we award bid number 9-1314 to the Atlas Company. The amount was noted.
Second.
Is there a second? Yeah.
And what if we don't have the funding? What if we don't get the funding? What are we gonna do?
I think I'll talk to the Parks and Rec Commission, look into our program funds, to whatever the balance is. We'll make it happen.
Okay, good. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Anybody? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
They do a great job.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Item 6, Board of Education Business Manager, Linda Trudeau. Good morning, Linda.
Morning.
How are you doing, Linda?
How are you?
We haven't seen you.
Okay, and I better read why Linda's here. Consider and take possible action on a resolution related to the technology lease for the Board of Education. This is something we do, I think, yearly.
Yes, this will be the 7th one. So we've been doing these every year. This to allow us to buy technology equipment and spread out the payments over 5 years. So this year we're doing $600,000 of technology equipment, trying to make up for a couple of the years where we've cut back on the purchases. The original agreement was that we were going to do $500,000 every year. We've had a couple of years where we've done $250,000, and 1 year we've only done $200,000. So at the last Board of Education meeting, the Board of Education approved going with J.P. Morgan Chase for a rate of 1.408 for a 5-year lease. So we need you to sign the resolution because, as you know, the Board of Ed cannot enter into debt.
Okay, and this is all in your education
We've done this.
operating budget.
Yeah.
Just to get that out there. Okay.
Started this when I was on the board, yeah, the
Yes.
technology,
Okay.
yeah. It's been
The
a
first
good
one was back in
program.
07, 08.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah,
been a good
okay.
plan.
Okay, all right. Do we, and I need a motion before we can discuss this.
I would make a motion that we authorize, I guess we're authorizing the first selectman to sign. I guess we all have to sign it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Make a motion that we move forward and authorize the lease purchase financing of technology equipment for the Board of Education, in the amount of $600,000 over 5 years.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I think we're all set. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Item 7, building official, Bill 30. 7.1, discuss need to hire temporary building inspector for a new high school project.
Joe, just while Bill's coming up,
Sure.
why, I guess because it's a resolution, we all
Yeah.
have to sign it, but the
Yeah.
documents, you can sign
The
it.
contract I would
Okay.
sign, okay.
I was surprised when I looked at the back and saw that we were all signing this.
Morning, Bill.
Morning. Set?
I'm waiting for
You're
you.
on.
Okay. Since the 1980s, the town of Guilford has always operated with 2 building officials. The last couple of years, we've been operating with 1, and now the largest project the town's ever had is getting ready to kick off. I'm seeking the ability to get a part-time building official to cover the school. That's about it. We got an estimate of time from the committee of about 736 hours over the 22-month projected project. And I want to get someone in there to fill that in and then operate as a liaison with the building department as it sits.
Just some background on this. Obviously, the building has to be inspected during the entire construction phase by the town. It's our requirement to do that.
We're legally required to do
Legally
that.
required, and because it's such a large building, like Bill said, it's just beyond the capacity of that department, only because of not his knowledge, but he's just one guy. I have had discussions with the school building committee, and since it's a school project, or even if it was a town project, we would not be charging building fees for this. We'd be charging ourselves. That's ridiculous. So what the committee will do would be to fund the cost of the individual we hire, and it wouldn't be coming out of operating funds.
So it's gonna be coming out of the school funds?
Out of the school funds.
How much are they
okay.
projecting this would cost? Because you give us the hours, so they get,
It's about
Well,
35 to 40,000 is the number
Yeah,
I've been
you're
told.
looking at it
Yeah.
right around 30,000
Okay.
for the duration of the project.
And that's from putting a shovel in the ground to signing the CFO. probably.
Actually, there's been preliminary meetings.
Oh, your time too, yeah,
meetings.
right.
And,
Well,
and the individual that we're looking at has also put time in already, just getting oriented with the drawings and the plan reviews.
So would this person report to you then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Pam, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I just that in speaking with the committee, there's a sense of urgency. Normally, we might go out to RFQ for hiring a temporary consultant.
Yeah.
But because of, but you're not technically required to do
Right.
that. That's to your discretion. We like to do it sometimes to get better pricing. But in this situation, there is definitely a sense of urgency from the committee because as Bill discusses, I guess there's, I don't have any firsthand knowledge in this, but, there's work to be done before, shovel hits the ground, reviewing plans, et cetera, which it needs to occur, I'm told, like in the next week or so. So because of the urgency of the matter, I think it's support what he's saying, which is let's do it without going out to RFQ.
Okay.
Can I just add, we're already working around, there's requirements for certain levels of drawing, completion in the plans and all that. We're already behind the 8 ball with availability of fully completed plans at this point. So we're kind of operating off of marked up drawings and red lines and all kinds of, stuff. So just to keep the project going.
Yeah, but that would be a function of the architect to get you the completed plans.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with your department.
There's the mobilization at this point to get the site prepped and ready is such that it's just super quick.
Okay. I mean, we've already put 6 shovels in there, so we got to do something.
Well, we have all the issues with the operating a school and building a school within 25 feet of each other is a very tricky deal.
Okay.
And that's what we're dealing with now.
Gary?
Yeah, I would just, because I was at the building committee meeting, which this was seriously discussed, and it's not a reflection on Bill or anything else, but there's a time sensitivity, and the fact that they have a dedicated person means that, if they require this person for an extended period of time to work on it, if it were Bill, nobody else would get any service, so everybody else in
That's
town would have some problems. So it was a matter of some concentrated time that was required to do this that was virtually impossible for Bill to do on his own.
Right, and our activity level has jumped.
Right.
It's just steadily increasing at this point.
Okay. Pam, do we need a motion on this, or can we just go ahead?
You could just authorize him to hire.
Okay. Because it's not a budgetary thing,
No.
so. All right, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the building official to bring on temporary staff that will be funded by the building committee for the inspection of the new high school.
So moved.
Yes. Second? Mitch? Yeah.
Clarification, this is a independent contractor, not an employee, or we bring an employee?
No, it's independent contractor. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. It would be a 1099, not a W-2. Okay. Yeah, there's a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Only that we
Go
knew
ahead.
that this was going to be before us, and
Right.
that timing
Yeah.
was an issue,
Right.
and we've discussed this before.
Right. Okay.
It's an important part of the project.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thanks, Bill. Item 8, Town Engineer Jim Portley. I think it's your permanent seat up here, huh? 8.1, consider and take possible action on the release of the maintenance bond for Bill Rogers Drive in the Pine Grove subdivision, sections 1 and 2.
Pine Grove subdivision had several roads built as part of the development. Bill Rogers Drive was one of those. It was a road that the town accepted back in April of 2011 with the stipulation that they install a $5,000 maintenance bond just to cover any unforeseen problems. The road has been re-inspected. It's in good shape, and the developer has requested that the $5,000 bond be released. So it is recommended that the the Board of Selectmen vote to release the bond as requested. I should say 5,000, but
5,000.
yeah, typo.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that we release the maintenance bond for Bill Rogers Drive in Pine Grove subdivision, sections 1 and 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
This has gone through a winter, right?
Two
winters, and
It's gone through the first winter before we accepted it, and now it's gone through 2 winters since. So it's been well tested.
Anything further on the motion? Okay. All those in favor?
aye.
All right, thank you. One more item for Jim. 8.2, remove from the table and take possible action on a resolution authorizing the first selectman, Joseph Mazza, to sign the master municipal agreement for construction projects with the Connecticut DOT.
This is this master agreement, and I responded to an email that Veronica sent me last week. This is an attempt by DOT to reduce the amount of review time that has been plagued all these projects. They develop a set of documents, every project, that is just beyond what most people can sit down and read. What they try to do is get all the boilerplate out of the way, and that's what this master agreement is. And then take the project in hand. We'll just say, for instance, the Shoreline Greenway Trail. Tailor that agreement down to that project and be very precise in the language, rather than have a very thick document every time you go through a project and go through it. It seems to make a lot of sense. I don't see it as really a problem for any community. A number of communities have already done this, and will, in my understanding, be improving it in the very near future. So I would recommend the Board of Selectmen. I don't see it something that's going to hurt us or at all, and I think in the long term it should save time, because anytime you get an agreement that's developed, if you have to submit it to town council and the state has, and the DOT has to submit it to the Attorney General's office, they're going to go through page by page by page. And so, they want to make sure that they're covering themselves. So it just should, through that process, by doing this one master agreement now, save a lot of that review time, save a lot of money, and then allow the focus of the review as each project is developed to be precisely on that project in particular, rather than broadly. So I would recommend the Board of Selectmen approve the master agreement.
Jim, if there's any change in operation that would change the language in what we call the boilerplate, how would that be accomplished? With each individual project, or do we sign a new master agreement? Like, I don't know. I mean, is there provision for these changes?
My understanding is similar to what Jim is saying, that as each project comes, we'll get basically something, they have a terminology for it, but basically it's an addendum that we would slap on the back of that. If what you're asking is, at the time that we have a new project, could we somehow renegotiate the main agreement each time? I don't believe that's set up that way.
Probably be an amendment. I mean, you'd have the boilerplate, and then if there was something specific to a project, it'd be part of that smaller group paper and amend
So
anything inside.
we have that availability to do that, is all I'm saying.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I believe that this would be the time to negotiate the boilerplate part, not later. In my research, just dealing with other municipal attorneys on this, what has been the experience of the others is that there's been no negotiating. The DOT is basically saying we're not negotiating it. There has not been, I looked over the agreement. The one thing that I wanted to just triple check was the insurance provisions, that they weren't overreaching what we had, because some of the other municipal attorneys had expressed some concern. But I ran it by Seeger, our insurance agent, and she said we've got all that covered, so not to be concerned. So,
Because I could imagine down the road, this is a 10-year
Yeah, that's my
deal,
road.
right? I can imagine down the road, say 5 years into it, that the insurance requirements are gonna change. And would that then mean a new master agreement, or like Charles says, just an amendment to the project
It would
at
be an
hand?
amendment. If there was something that maybe, became an issue later on, and I'm sure we wouldn't be the only town that had the issue with it, I would assume,
Okay.
leverage by numbers, that you basically tell the DOT this isn't working or that. But,
So at this point in time, we're pretty much okay with their requirements, and should things change, when projects come up, we have an opportunity to negotiate an amendment.
It would just be incorporated in
Yeah.
the agreement as an.
Yeah, okay.
And the regulations and requirements, like you said, are going to change over a 10-year period.
They are.
But those are the specifics in the individual products or projects requirements. I mean, you just, instead of requiring 5 people, we require 6.5 people or something.
Well, just to give you a sense of how slow these processes take, in this boilerplate, there's a directive from Governor Metzger. Anybody remember who Governor Metzger is? That, it's a part of these requirements. And that's the way, these are very slow to change. Any of these general requirements that come out of the federal government, that come out of whatever particular issue that is raised at the time. And I think those will stay in place for a long time until something changes. If something comes up, such as insurance, then you tailor it to
Well,
that.
the other
You
question
deal with it at that
I
time.
have is, every year, we try to get the threshold for prevailing wage on a project to be raised.
Decreased.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
To raise the threshold where we have to look at a prevailing wage. Now, should the legislature finally get that through and the governor signs it, what happens with this
that
agreement?
trumps the agreement.
It does,
It
okay,
does.
okay, okay.
And while it's always dangerous to assume, I think we've covered it, if we have Project A on the table and it is a conflict with the master agreement, you have a choice of either moving forward or not, or making an amendment to the agreement. Having seen some of those agreements, going through it every time, it's a pile of paper.
And it's that indeed.
And there's an advantage to having much of it standardized. I can understand why you would.
I'm sure that there's an advantage to having it all standardized. I don't understand why it needs to be 10 years. And in our discussion, there's only been 4 municipalities that have signed this already,
Oh, I don't know
out
if
of
that's,
169 communities.
I don't know if it's just 4. Those are the ones of the people I talked to. I
Yeah.
didn't do a canvas of all
You know.
69. It's the ones of people I'm in contact with on a regular basis.
Does it have to be 10 years?
No, I think they just picked a number. They could have said 20 years. You could have said 5. I mean, it's just, they're trying to get something out of the way for a
What I
while.
envision happening is exactly what you're talking about. You'll have the boilerplate, and then you'll have addendum after addendum after addendum.
Oh, it'll be a second
because it's been 10
boilerplate
years
subject.
long,
Yeah.
and you end up with
But that addendum will, instead of being that thick, it'll be only that thick. So you still will only have
Start.
a limited number of pages to review.
Is that a promise?
It's an absolute promise, yes. I can guarantee.
Well, let me take it
You and Mother Nature,
one step further. This is, in essence, like you say, the boilerplate.
Yeah.
Okay? And each project will have its own agreement referencing the master agreement.
Yeah.
Okay? So when we have that individual agreement for a project, is all that negotiable?
Yes.
Okay?
You have to review it and be, it has to
Okay.
be acceptable to the board.
Okay, all
Jim,
right.
how
So
many
then, I'm sorry,
No,
can
no,
I just
no, no,
finish? So then, if there's something we don't like, we have a right to negotiate the project.
Right. You can always reject the.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
not do the project.
Or not.
If we don't conform.
Yeah, that's right. Always that.
Which is where we were in the first place.
Right.
They don't give you a lot of, option on changing their language on their contracts,
Well,
unfortunately.
some of it, it's all generated through.
Right, John? You've
federal-
dealt with that, right?
Federal regulations and.
Well, it's also their, well, I hate to say their money, it's our money. but
yeah.
It's state money.
Yeah, they-
Yeah.
Jim, how many projects a year?
Maybe one or two. I
That's-
mean, we got,
okay,
look,
so
right
that's
in front of
another
us,
thing
we
to look
have, at least through DOT, we got the Shoreline Greenway Trail.
Yeah.
And then hopefully Long Hill Road if we ever,
Yeah,
this is
so
the
we're-
thing.
this is-
We talk about 10 years, they move a snail
Right.
racing ahead. When you talk about getting approval of all the steps, I mean, there's another step for every step.
So the 10 years
10
isn't
years,
really,
it goes fast, right?
like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we've
I'll
seen
move that we authorize the first selectman to sign the master municipal agreement for construction projects with the Connecticut DOT.
this. Second.
Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Anybody?
Sense.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Can I go back to?
Four in favor, one opposed.
I don't know you have.
Yes, Jim?
That motion we had on Pine Grove subdivision,
Yeah.
I actually did two memos. One was for Bill Rogers Drive, the other one was for Pine Grove Road. They both were built at the same time, and they were both covered by the request from Ed Fusco. So if you could amend the approval to a release.
The item does say Bill Rogers and.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two bonds. One is $7,200 for Pine Grove, and the other one is $5,000 for Bill Rogers. So the total would be, the bond we released would be $12,200.
So then, wait a minute, then there's a correction to that.
Yeah.
Because this said Bill Rogers Drive in the Pine Grove subdivision.
Yeah.
Is that
Should be
correct,
and.
or should it be and? And.
Well, it's in this Pine Grove subdivision, but it's also a Pine Grove Road.
Okay,
See, there's two roads in this
Okay.
one subdivision.
okay,
We'll just add Pine Grove.
right,
Yeah, and
okay.
then increase the
We
bond.
did the
Everybody
motion.
okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we did the motion correctly, actually.
Yeah, I think we did,
I
yeah,
just-
yeah. Okay, James, thank you very much.
Be
You
in
go on,
touch.
you check things up at Quantico?
There's a meeting at 9:30 with the contractor. It's 9:30 now,
Okay.
so I'll go up there right now.
I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance this morning to get up there. 9, discuss and take possible action on programs to be included in the 2013 Neighborhood Assistance Act program and all right, we'll start with that
Yeah.
first, okay?
I'll move that we include the programs as they were provided to us, and some testified here today, in the 2013 Neighborhood Assistance Act program.
And that would be the Leak Playground, the Guilford Housing Authority, and Sarah's two
Sarah.
projects.
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item in there is an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 174, Flood Damage Prevention.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. One more item, an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, Chapter 160, demolition of buildings as a result of the earlier public hearing, and all of these are a result of the earlier public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that was painless. Okay, request for the use of town property. We have 10-1 to 10-3.
I would move that we approve 10-1 through 10-3 as presented in the minutes.
Second.
Or in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it will be in the minutes now. Correspondence, Public Works Monthly Report, 11-1, and we have the Building Officials Monthly Report.
Busy.
Busy, man. Public Works being hammered.
Is there any other damage, Joe, that you're aware of from 8.5 inches of rain this month?
No, but I've been apprised of.
Direct result of Quantico.
Oh, yeah, I mean, when you say other, you mean other than Quantico?
Yeah,
okay,
other than
right.
Quantico.
And just, the 102 hours of overtime is basically driven by the Public Works filling in at the transfer station, and they've done a great job up there, so.
I will say that a couple of taxpayers have contacted me regarding, drainage issues and that type of thing, and I've contacted Public Works and Jim. And I guess they've got a list of roads and
Yes.
collapsed pipes and things like that. So, I mean, they're going through the list, but it is quite a list.
Yeah. And you keep cleaning the catch basins and they keep clogging up again, so it's an ongoing.
I clean my own gutters, so I know. Yeah.
Okay, building officials report goes back to the discussion we had earlier, is picking up, and picking up business, so to speak, and you can see from the financial report, too. Committee reports, anything, anybody?
Just a small
yeah.
reminder to folks that the sponsorship bulletin was mailed out a couple weeks ago for the 375th anniversary celebration. There's a banner application, sponsorship applications, as well as a patron in the commemorative book that we're putting together. All of those things have deadlines and they're coming up pretty rapidly, so if people are interested in doing that, earlier is preferred as opposed to later, because we still need time to submit logos and get proofs back and go to print and so forth. So please consider doing it, and if there's any questions, please call the Selectman's office and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Do you have those deadlines available?
Not off the top of my head.
If you call, we'll be able to get them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I attended the groundbreaking at Boston Terrace the other day, and there were 9 additional units of affordable housing. But the most interesting thing is the zero energy design of these buildings, and it came to light that we might be the first community with the zero energy project of this type in the state. So it's an important thing, and zero energy basically means that each unit will generate enough electricity and, you know, the conservation of electricity to be zero for each unit. So,
Great. Any old business? New business?
Joe?
Yes, sir.
Non-technical discussion, but I know there are CL&P contractors out, because they happen to be on my street Saturday, and they're marking not branch trimming, but major tree cutting. I would suggest that residents that are asked to sign off seriously consider doing it. If they have questions, probably call Kevin McGee, the tree warden, or the selectman's office if you really have questions. But that their concept, and I have a major line that comes that it stops in front of my house, so they're going to that junction, and they're not going beyond it. So they're looking at major lines, and they're trying to get big trees down. As we know from a couple of storms ago when the CL&P people came by, you know, what did they say? 40 years ago, you could see if you flew over the town, you could see the roads, and now essentially you can't see any of the roads, and that's why in the storms these trees come down and they take wires and we lose power. So we all love trees, but this is a reasoned tree. These are licensed arborists that are coming around, and they're marking trees, and they're marking the trees that they think provide substantial risk of damage to lines. So I would suggest that people cooperate when they can.
Definitely. That's a good, excellent point, Gary. Thank you. Meeting we had with CL&P earlier, about a couple of weeks ago. They intend to spend a good part of this month in Guilford, which we said, please do. Spend all summer if you want. Everybody is. Some people get a little upset when they hear a favorite tree might be coming down, but I think they get more upset when they're out of power for 7 days, because that tree eventually came down when we didn't want it to, and it comes down on a wire or a transformer or whatever.
Well, and you look at what they've marked, and they're leaning a little bit, or they're thin at the top, and you know they're in danger.
Good. Just another item I have, thank you, Gary, of old business is we need recommendations for the Hazard Mitigation Committee. I gotta get that going. John is shaking his head. Okay. Just our new business, to remind everybody that high school graduation is June 26th, a week from this coming Wednesday. Today's Monday. So it's about 10 days from now. And we wish all the graduates good luck on their future careers. Anything else? Okay. We have item 15, public forum, limited to 3 minutes on any issue. Anybody? John?
I would like to, yes.
Please sit down.
John Henningsen. If George was here, I'm sure he would say this, but there was a national conference on flood prevention up in Hartford last week, As part of that conference, they gave 2 tours of the coastal area in terms of looking at what had happened with Sandy and what had happened with Irene before that. The consultant who's working with us on the coastal resilience plan, and who also worked with us on the coastal area management plan and the pre-disaster mitigation plan, was actually headed that tour along with several DEP officials, and they asked me to go along as a local guide. George went and greeted the people, but asked me to continue. The comments from the people from all over the country were very laudatory about how aggressive the town has been, and in fact that was reinforced by the state officials who were with us, that we are probably in the lead in terms of broad coastal area management activities in the state. And it's very positive groups in terms of what we're doing and the damage that happened and what we're doing to replace that, from very small things to how aggressive we have been, along with DOT, on replacing culverts on 146. I think we've done about 4 just in the last 2 years and have alleviated flooding on 146, but also our planning and the various activities that we've been doing in terms of planning. So I just wanted to relay, it was a very positive response from this wide audience from all over the country. Probably 30 people on each tour, different people, so maybe 60 or 70 people from all over the country, and they were very impressed with what the town is going forward with, so I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anything further? Item 16, to discuss and possibly authorize outside counsel to negotiate possible purchase by the town of 2 open space parcels and related transactions. An executive session will be required. I'm going to invite the Pam Millman, who is our in-house counsel, to attend, plus the board. Okay? Anybody else, Pam? That's it, I think.
Are we going to take a vote or no?
No, no. There will be no vote taking. Okay.
Well, you authorize, you could at the end come out and authorize outside counsel.
Okay, all right, I stand corrected. We might take a vote, Mike, okay?
Can we take a 1-minute break?
That'd be a good idea. Good, okay. We'll need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we authorize outside counsel to negotiate possible purchase by town of 2 open space parcels and related transactions.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Any other further business?
Move we adjourn?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
You too.